Hi everybody, Cheryl here. So today I'm going to talk about foundation types. I've seen a lot of questions in groups, people asking about in terms of building, should they build on a slab, should they build it with a crawl space, conditioned crawl space, or use a basement. I've also seen several questions, the same type of questions of people asking when they're looking for a place to buy that's already built or looking for a place to rent. And so the first thing I want to talk about is that all those foundations have their place. They all can be built well, or they can be built poorly. There are some parts of the country where slabs are the only thing that's available. It's the best thing available. There's a high water table perhaps, or the ground soil conditions are such that a slab is the best situation. There's other places where crawl spaces are very common. And then there's places where basements are common. In basements, usually that means that there's a water table is not very close to the surface, allowing for basements, but you do want to check that because sometimes there are places, even in a place where basements are common, where there's an underground stream or something, and you don't want that to be your house that is then interrupting an underground stream. And basically what happens in that situation is sump pumps run continuously. But my point in picking a foundation is that there is no perfect solution for avoiding mold and water damage. Any of those types of foundations that I mentioned, slab, crawl space, or basement, can and do cause mold in buildings. So the key is keeping the water away from the foundation and away from the building in the first place. So the first thing you want to do, if you're living in a home and you suspect there's water damage or there's a water impact in the basement, crawl space, or even under the slab, yes, under the slab can accumulate moisture, then the first thing you want to do is check around the outside perimeter of the property, of the home, or the building. Water should never, ever be sitting up against the foundation. Most foundations are either going to be concrete block or they're going to be concrete, and concrete in and of itself is like a sponge. It absorbs water. When it gets wet, it always is trying to dry to the inside, because usually the inside is drier and warmer, especially at this time of year, than the outside. So when water is up against a foundation, it soaks into the foundation, ends up in the middle of maybe of a slab or in the exterior wall. It's drier on the interior space, so the water is trying to dry. It raises humidity levels and oftentimes can impact the materials that are attached to this. So in a slab, that can mean that it's trying to dry to the interior, so it's trying to dry up in a slab, hitting things like vinyl floor covering or carpet and pad, which then trap the moisture, causing that trapped moisture to then create a lot of humidity, condensation, and mold can grow in the glues and just even in the dirt and dust that's in that underneath that surface. So the difference, I think, primarily between a slab and a basement and crawl space is whether you can see or not see what is happening in your situation. So if you have water leaking from plumbing, under a toilet, for instance, toilet seal leaks are really common. Our plumbing and sewers go through the ground. So that means they go through the floor. If toilet seal leaks in a slab, it's going to collect the water underneath the slab and you just won't know about it. If you have a crawl space that you can get into, that maybe isn't a true crawl space, that meaning you don't have to crawl into it, or you can check it regularly, you can see that there might be water damage happening. Basement, the same thing. You got to go down and check. But in a slab, it's happening and you can't see it. So that water is actually accumulating in the dirt underneath the foundation, and then it wets the foundation. It tries to dry inside, and the only way to fix that in a slab is to break up the foundation, break up the slab. Big deal. That's a really big deal. So if you have the opportunity in your location where you can have the visibility to see what's happening below your bathroom and your plumbing, then take it. Same thing with the walls. Most slab foundations, even in the South, are sitting on some sort of a wall with a footing to spread the load out, and this depends on soil type. But generally the house is pretty heavy and being carried, the loads are being carried on walls. The roof comes down to walls, and so those loads then sit on the ground and oftentimes need to be distributed. They get distributed on a footing. So there's little walls under your slab. If those walls leak, then that means you're collecting water underneath there. If you have a slab, you can't see that either. So in a slab situation, they might have foundation walls, they refill with dirt and then cover with a slab. So you can still have a leak underneath there. The difference is whether you can go down and look at it or not. In any of these foundation types, there's a right and a wrong way to detail them. The most important thing is getting outside and making sure the grade is sloping away, making sure gutters and downspouts are going far away from your building. If you have the opportunity to have large overhangs, that can make a huge difference too, because that's like a giant umbrella over your building. So if you're building, you have control over this. And every drawing that I have been sent to me to look at when people are trying to avoid molder, through the design of their building, they send an elevation that has a perfectly flat ground. Even if your site is flat, you can make a hill out of it. You can make your house sitting on a hill so you can control the drainage away from your home. So if you have any kind of slope in the lot, you can control that as well. You will need a topographical survey. Not everyone knows how to read those. They're more expensive than a regular survey. And your designer needs to know how to change the soil heights to create swales, to create slopes, to create the drainage that you need to get water away from your building. So this is something that, regardless of the foundation type, so I just want to leave you with, I have a blog post actually on my website, avoidingmold.com, showing a church that I go to that has a huge problem. And people they put carpeting down, and the carpeting keeps the moisture down. Ductwork in slabs is a terrible thing, very, very bad thing if you see that. So slabs are not the cure-all. If you have to have them, there's a right and a wrong way to do it. I'm available to help people on individual projects, so if I can be of any assistance, feel free to reach out to me through my website, and then I can help you as an owner's representative, protecting your interests with your builder, or in your situation where you're trying to find a property to buy. I can help you determine what's the corrections that need to be made and things to look at to ensure that they keep you and your family safe. So thanks for listening, and I hope this is helpful. Any foundation can be done right or wrong. Just know that. Do not make a decision based on the foundation alone. Thanks. Have a good week.